늘까지들이 주로 놓았더니요. 시야 강을 해드리더니 갖다 공부를 주방이 들이다가 산지가 쥐고로 마부 쏘고리 사지 좀 이제 이제 이 강로 동타 등에는 도대 강계 받침도 다대 동직대에서 그 강에들이 좁은 저 띵스 무고 다주고 맞고 이래서 돈네들이 주펑제 전이 먹니 벌송송거리 대회는 대 주타지 너무 이거 코다레스 대회는 대사다지 또 송단데 전 돌디나지 까대는 것은 나들 네 누지와데 가리 이 사지 진족들 까대치 대치데 깨는 이때 누들로 봐는 이제 대누선 좀 대누들이 레일은 저 이제 저도 송을 네 대님도 찾을 니보라 더대는 저 책동송 니모게 난저 니보라 뭐대는 저 책동송 그래 너와 너대 뭐 봤는데 너는 네 몸독도 니보 소말에 너대 뭐 봤음 네 몸도 찾 니보라 더대는 저 책동송 니몸 계당들 니보라 뭐대는 저 책동송 니몸독들 니보라 응바리 다 되네. 너와 너대 응바. 응바리 또 먹니 응바. 다 진짜로 되나 그래. 너도 너는 까대로 somsi 바지 되래.
Today, Dharma friends, I continue with the teachings. And so yesterday, before we mentioned that the Buddha gave many different Dharma teachings. That is from the section in the Gongchik on the Dharma wheels. And we mentioned one quote by the Buddha. The Buddha said that I have taught the sutras, the teachings in thousands of worlds. Even though the words are distinct, the meaning is the same. And also in Jigten Sumgun's Gongchik, it says that the 84,000 Dharma teachings are all an antidote to the afflictive emotions. And all of the Buddha's words are summarized into the Tripitaka, or the three scripture collections of the Vinaya, the Sutra teachings, and the Abhidharma teachings. And the three collections of teachings are each an antidote to an afflictive emotion. So each of the Tripitaka consists of 21,000 teachings. And the first one is the Pitaka of the Vinaya teachings. And the Vinaya teachings, the 21,000 Vinaya teachings, are an antidote to the afflictive emotion of attachment. Then the Sutra teachings are an antidote to anger, and the Abhidharma teachings are an antidote to ignorance.
이때 소소 로장 가양 요 말이 지금 신시에 걸어서 하나님 사포 요게 얼마니 이랑 이제 띠스고 송었지니 주포께서 먹니 볼 계속 뒤책대 고네 들이라 주에 뒤 유모 막 가지께는 유모 차라가리 깨나 뒤니 보라들이 사촉선 나바니 소 사촉선 나바니 들이 고독들 맞더니 그래서 사촉선 나 도담 사촉선 나바니 때 바디 하고송 데르티는 냠설 라운들이 냠설 라운 깔더니랑 그 냠용로 때니 이제 말라를 밖에 하더니 네 다롱적 당제와 고반 냠용 당제 와서 곰들 고치라 자신을 말이지 오 셰티 근데 유문 말이지 또 산촉세지 가는데 난지는 유문 뭐 가라고도 뒤실지 찍고를 뛰는지 양문지는 오 다들이 다 내자리 다치 취지지 봐도 하고 요래 되래 데르티네 Nimo Nimbo Shina, the Chaka, the machine, the ticket just a jungle to the Roma Chapman and so on. Roma Chapman, the Tontangi Bay, choosing a Julama, tiny ticket G down and Tontangi Bay or somebody. Roma Chapman was the Roma Summer and a Payateri, Naming a secretary. These are Tontangi Bay or Tontatilla, Dodds on it, Daji Nizon, the Tontachipus on it. Three to talk about you know, you awesome. Three charmly. Oh, Jay was a daily what a charmly. They see Cardi shape got the churches of Dodge. Take it to the Jungdang, the Jew chocolate, the churches of Dodge. The churches of Dodge, they been a torchable, don't want to want torchable, sat at by a jacket or it. This check the Jesus long with the Rita Tota, Raju, but oh, don't want to touch it, there's to touch either young, yes, dinner. There is a Raju, but it is Chilani, and that on Rosa with your money. The other carry, you when you were song, the children, you were song, the young long and the legal nature, and Yamina told dog you have been Goman Yam Young down to our song. The Venetia. True about the you when you were it, or they have a creature were it.
So I don't have much learning, and maybe things don't come out so clearly of my mouth. But I've understood this line by Thigden Sumgön when he said that the 84,000 teachings are all an antidote to the afflictive emotions. And if you just understand this, then whenever an afflictive emotion arises, no matter how strong or weak it may be, you know that the twofold bodhicitta, or the Dharma, is all an antidote to that afflictive emotion. So there is the relative bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta. So I have understood that these are an antidote to the afflictive emotion. And then when I engage in practice, this has to become an experience. Milarepa had said that the view has to be infused with an understanding of the scriptures, and one's practice must be infused by a direct experience. So even if you don't know how to meditate, so to speak, you can recognize with clear awareness, this is an afflictive emotion, this is bodhicitta, this is self-clinging, and so on. You can discern between the emotions arising in your mind. And if you only understand this, you have understood the power of the Dharma, so that the Dharma is an antidote to the afflictive emotions. If we don't understand that, we will follow mere words or concepts. In the 7 verses of supplication to Tara, it says, those who have not given rise to the Dharma from the bottom of their heart, they will follow sophistries or mere concepts of the Dharma. And that is also why I distribute these 7 verses of supplication to Tara to all my disciples. These words really are words of actual practice, how we actually practice. So when we hold on to the words of a lineage, for example, even if it is a lineage, a philosophical view, then we still may do so with a dualistic thought of self and other, my view versus their view. And Thigden Sumgön said that all those who grasp at tenets are ordinary. So once we grasp at a tenet, we become dualistic. Then we think that my tenet or philosophical view is correct and the other ones are wrong. But of course, there is also a Dharma debate. And in a Dharma debate, it is okay to point out the faults and qualities of each other's arguments, but this one more becomes a refinement or like a polishing of one's own understanding of the Dharma. For example, it is just like two friends helping to point each other's dirty face out to each other. So on the other hand, if one doesn't understand that, one will just follow their words and then say that this is my lineage. And then already one is grasping at a duality and one becomes ordinary. So and in this way, one is not able to practice the Dharma truly in an authentic way. So the 84,000 teachings are all an antidote to the afflictive emotions. And if we are not able to see that, to put that into practice, then our practice will not become genuine practice. So therefore, Milarepa has said, your practice has to become infused with an actual direct experience. And that is the experience gained that the Dharma practice must become an antidote to the afflictive emotions.
Ranju Bashipati, Dajini Chang, their Chadanichi, they Juna Dinita Dabber, Kashiki, Marichro, the Tachu, Mogote, de la Coyore. Churkari is the Churmogina. Oh, Churok the Chuma Bodosi, Kariki, Churok the Chuji, Mapjet, and Chujang is on the road. Churatility, that double Tuba to Mangoyore. Oh, Tani, Churok, Nang, took the certain took territory, took water, took water, you only did Chadang took by the Chungoyore. They didn't choose about the Chadang and Yvon Mason, there is a Tang, he be Luba, from that date out of the zone, Chu Kari, and Triti, Dajini, their Chadang, Zona, treating. Young numerous in everything song, doing song with Jerry. There's some ta, sugar from ta, yin jang, then water and seaman and zini. Numer would give my son, numer to tell numer was Zola. That is true, that took the Migitsara. We saw in the elevator, the main younger, and the main younger, just numer water and the main younger. The way to tongue be Livala song. There's some Tara Duke of the Jumte, Raju, but the Natipo, now on what the young level of your Venom. The Namba de la Tini, you move Jessica on the Sate, Nanzi, the Da may Paradado, Mamma, not Dogo, Daji in Beva Chago, their tabaturity. Tonda with them are Daji in Beva Dogore. There's the young true dazzle, take on his way. There's the Tantaban and Kashiki Chuluga. 다 주룩이 야부 말이 되게 가시게 주룩 동네에 마도 창지 책이 지장 책다장을 지들이 추추 중주 봐 좀타를 중주 봐 되게 답도 쪼르도 지책이 지설장 돈 양틀면 양니 양녀마치래 이렇게 중만 보다 주룩 중만 보도 그는 중대래지 대라주 아들 다 중만 보고 땡주고 요래지
So the quote goes, all those who grasp at tenets are ordinary, or also are ingenuine and not genuine. And that is because even though we are Dharma practitioners, we are not genuine because the Dharma practice becomes defiled by dualistic thinking and thoughts of attachment and aversion. And that's also why often some people in this world say, I don't need any religion. So why don't you need any religion? Well, it's because so much trouble comes from religion. There's so much conflict and fighting in the name of religion. So it is said that if you do not practice the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma, then that Dharma itself can become the cause for falling into the 3 lower realms. And it is true that there is a lot of fighting, a lot of conflict in the name of religion among practitioners of the same religion and also between different religions. But this is only the activity of attachment and hatred, when actually the Dharma is supposed to become an antidote to attachment and hatred. But if we hold on to these negative thoughts in the name of the Dharma, even though we practice the Dharma, then that is what is meant by saying they hold on to erroneous doctrines. And this is in the 7 verses of Supplication to Tara. And so then whichever religion one follows, if one does so with a dualistic mind, an afflicted mind of attachment and anger, all one will do is accumulate more afflictive emotions. And the afflictive emotions are the cause of birth in the 3 lower realms. So even you say that you are practicing a religion, you're practicing the Dharma, you are really holding on, you're clinging to the true existence of a concrete reality, and your Dharma does not become an antidote to the afflictive emotions. And so this is how beings are deceived by erroneous dogma in the 7 verses. So the erroneous dogma, or holding on to that, is what causes ultimately suffering. It drags us into the 3 lower realms, simply because the cause of afflictive emotion, the cause that is the afflictive emotion, leads to the result that is suffering. And this is what makes our Dharma practice be deceptive or not genuine. It is because of the underlying self. There's this me. So that is why we say the teachings must become an antidote to that, to the afflictive emotions. That's the purpose of the 84,000 teachings. Because the I that we cling to does not actually exist. So the purpose of Dharma practice is to eliminate this false grasping belief in self and other. So that's the purpose of the holy Dharma. But not understanding that, we create a lot of difficulty in the name of the Dharma, but that is when we practice the Dharma with a selfish mind. And so then various religions in the world then are accused of not being good. But in reality, it is just because people follow various just conventions. They have not understood the actual meaning of their religion. They follow some words or concepts that they hear somewhere. And then they say this is how it is, and that's why this religion is bad or this is not good, and so on. And then there's a lot of criticism between different religions or lineages. So that is the result of one's Dharma not having become an actual experience. And many faults come from that. So ordinary beings, those who are not genuine practitioners, will always point out the many faults of others.
점다 란지 버중에 딱 레오 강정고를 되는데 소소하다 나디 람마다 주주 가리나디 총총제나 나 좀다지 콘직지 말이 찌찌찌들지리 세랑에 다딘지 차당 꺼봤답들 꺼봤답 토만이 중솔 용디는 뭐다는 중솔 중촌에지 중중제 돈이 중중제게 다 참아 타마시를 마토바로부터 나는 니로고 동 약고 레즘제 덴바니 동라 니바 마히니 내가 람직거든요 마토바 좀들로 메바지 동 닝다고 하마고 로과도 바데 어떻게 또 말이 데마 말했으면 라게들 타탐다 로다 타탐을 뛰는 로다을 마토바 로과도 바지 소담도 봐도 다시 키스와지 삼마던 이제 고 요사레스 이랑 랑주를 쳤다는 때 삼마던 이제 그 단지 니디 차당 짜장은 되네 답이 출렁지디 말로 가르치는 대자장 덤나 들을 당이 별르지 대라고 차도 요래 놀래들 레고 차담들 링고요 독기 빠터로 보죠 송으로 랑게 용띠 마다 인지 중마다 다다 라마 교육진이 담지 중자냐 다 랑르들이 용지 라주르베는 지상군 용지냐를 가려 강하면 시 가려티 중자장 더 대신에 데려드린 간에 잠이 되면 나서 문에 배나 제외신이 출사와지를 중조나 강용 출사와 있는 정도 네 감섬선 진세를 듣기와 산속서 받는 거 봤다. 산속섬 설라 요 사람이 하고 오려 말이 태가를 다스면 그 개비시지 있는 정도 요걸로 받는 미상 모델은 사바상 뭐 대략이 좀 좋다 됐다고 다 차단 소리겠대 너지 링창리가 대시를 요래 대시를 때가 랑 방어리 라니 소중나 송 강이 다다 사속세에 쪼줘라 랑 방용송래 네 뭐가 그 자세히 다게 이발은 다니 얌저베 가이 냥거지 산쪽스바지 사쪽스바는 이제 좁아 장보지 용리는데 미 좁아 장보는데 콜 사바 장보는 뒤쪽으로 장보는 거래 좁아 장보 소라 니가 탐피를 뛰네 들이 제일 중조제디 발났다 봐시다나 가리 빼는 라마 계신이 저 추성거구나 다 데릴 거 받으면 대리치 소좀 남 소도 그 바지 권소를 잡서 넣지 그 바지 대바지도 빼는 라마 계신이 전부도 있나 될거 봤다면 대를 몇 가지 대봐도 저는데 라마 계신이 삼바치보다고 차디요래 중들이 중 소리 어쩌래 대리 중 강리들이 조금 매 샤속을 패걸 뭘 가리는 줄람 요래 옛날에 산속서는 제 바티 하마고는 되게 좋은구나. 지 사바치보다 또리잖아. 지 몇주 잡은 것처럼 통그 라가치 반나게 된다고요. 지 좋고요 말이 자당 모습 것들이 아마 교신이 참 중이 좋다. 나게 받으래. 당에 자카토 되는 상고인데 다tok 자카를 다tok 니성서 그 자카트 톡고 열매 그것가 톡요 말이지. 빼는 미직을 탑을 남띠나 되게 비용 같이 원래 로가를 놓는다래. 대도 며칠 남대를 못 봐가지니 별로 잠비도 출시 대바치가 돼서 대바 도저 대리 독과거든요. 봐 저기 요리 참인 안에 돌랭이 봐서 참인 뭐지 숨말이 그래서 라니 소지만 송아 대다버지네 대답지 강리도 딱좀다 라주 발에서 뭐 요리 대답은 많이 봐 강리 용디 있다고 그랬지 용디가 소다우나 들이라게 소인이나 럭바살 소지 용고 멍송 소녀가 아니 조용지 야다나더니 대고 중 노처지샤 더 용지지샤 써미나 다때에서 좀 셰체와래 되지 뭐가 다서네 그 말에 노처지샤 써 용지지샤 되는 용지를 들고 요래 대다운지 이송하더니 이지 용지 송나 라는 용지 제거 요래 이 용지 소나 가래서 제를 대바 제거 지책을 이치 제거 제를 때는 나산 쪽선 제거 요래 그 비용들 소소로 되게 비용을 제를 녹다만 뵙게 이렇게 소소 대바도 와이 대바도 대사를 딸 이바치고 이런다고 대 마시리 대사 좀 다들 대세 요라만 거는 요래 대다가 마성과라게 대바대지 양고 추차와도 있는 동데 사지 좀 되게 주시면 비용가래 강지 줄 나와 보탐제들이 셔틀로 롤 주방상을 베리테 그 습지 타바토로 다달라만 기회시 인터지 고동배 짜다는데 탈락코르도 또 출나나 또 그요래 가리를 뒤줄 상척세 요래 상척세인데 미인라고래 그래서 나타데 로가를 나타다 나지 뒤지 버리는 상척세 설하고 설명하고 요 말이 파티나 드리고 특정 동안 담을 요는 동문이 산속세에 서요 산속세에 도 동시발 강의지래 잠난난 거요 그거 되는데 강나 강절 때를 때도 봐지 대답해서 되는데 쫄을 추지 용지지 하고를 때 용지 걸었다 때 중마도 네 대기는 중소는 랑는 용이 다네 방파 연구요래 대답해 되는데 잠벌는 그 출력 처벌 피바 소졌다 피바레미니 찍자요 말이 데르데르는 게 간다라는 자원한테 데르 못딱 발라는 게버도 잠망성 사다 못딱데르 도고 오리상 거리 못딱 도고 있었는 말 못딱데르 다른 게다 마도바 로과르토바 돼요 말 소담토바 하는데 레미게 지 랑그 레마서 운이동데 난 되는 로는 랑과도 봤을 좀 다 쳐다를 못 봐. 개버도 다 망제. give it to Taxiwa, simply Pivasawa, Jimmy Jabba, no, Domasongo Yori, Jabatonko Yori, Sobakongo Yori, Coso, or Territory Rangela, Tayiri, Yen, Tatoti, Sanjeti, money, I take the Yori. Tatabi Chulokivati, Timbarboji, Ataki Yori, Mutakbasum, Theatre of Congretta, Territory Yongti, Mango Tong, Mayor, or Sama, the Tawana. You know, Sama, the shaking miniature, my Lamchic of the shaking boy, Jelly Sanji, they got Lamchic of the Tati with our Rebi, the Charum, the Karish, the Charum Challenger, the Challenger, the Yin, Charum Yin shot of a tail or a big dog over me. Yin Yung Tito and your name, Yin Tung Sola, the Rangi Banjo, Petita or the Donna, Double Chuluk was Sama. The getting rich. Simply, Chitaka, Malon. Chirok the only to someone getting by this. Maybe I have just same genius. I need it just a year. Shengi, did our Segazona. Did it run naturally about Pim Chimbo or Nolan to the Tanang on culture, Tanang Chivati. Ning Tanang did what? Better Kaji or one of my age.也许的可以那种，没有也许吃了用地方不有的，工商就什么的，那就是你这么当工作吧，工作做的怕是什么东西，娘这里讲忙不有的，这个咱们是这把接的，这个两个社会的难题的，先我们这把就是怕打过来的，先我们现在就甚至农业经，他过去刚要嘛，今天的来种的马新的他。또 먹을 해서는 들어올지 않는 얘는 샘대식 뭐 요기는 것도 들리지 않나 들리지 않지가 또 먹을 해서 아주 같이 뒷박차지 다고 뒤지 와서 다니 안 샘대식 뭐지 제시요 말이 거기서 샘대식 뭐지 요리 있어는 될 무난들 될 로버고 박차지 딱 봐도 될 무난들 대로더니 돈을 대도서 하나 따오나 들이다다 나네那拉着往上拿这个送个有的，这都从这里这都差的有的，这东西话呢，那个老是差的，老是种的，老是能到这边种的呢，就这上班上的，这上班上这个来啥条件这个节目呢，甚至他们以前的上街的，他从桥上走下呢，从我上街就要把哈后南这里，说是什么呢？就我差个有的，때리더니 semjina 제도 폐기요리 배나 대식이 뭐 요리 상상아 대평 좀 저거를 때리더니 개버도 강이 있는 애들이 있다 참아 그바시 다낭장 대신은 되니 서서 돌아 다낭지와의 sem정 좀다 펜스 줄로 펜스 야 잠버리는 가리는 되니 semjina 되니 어디 도포지 이제 그다 다른 동네 망고도 다시 가능성 세질 대식이 뭐 그래서는 대식이 뭐 그래 이제 다낭선이 세질 로버를 저버리면 고소를 세 대식이 뭐 요리 상승 들이 세질이나 다 다낭제 뭐 요리 배는 대도 레좀데 이시제 좀데 소시 뉴모 좀나 동네에도 뇽고 요리 내가 로버를 주니 대라 책들 좀데 끼끼스 한번 한 종이지 될 산쪽 샘지랑 산제리 니몽도 소문나서 그래 저거 되는 로아도 상은 저거 공이 오지 저거 강이지 미성심제도 세상을 저거 냐와 또 먹고 저봐 더도 센터 저봐더니 얘가 그래서 내가 로를 잡네 그래서 저 사람 샘지지 뭐 요리 그래서 다 성찬을 보다든지 이제 라주라 뉴문 바우나 라디오 뉴먼데 다소 인지를 뉴먼 종래서 그러면 대식이 뭐지 좀 말이 그래서 대도서는 제 다낭잖아. 들이 나지 답과랑 장지 다는 샘장만 장 차오나. 들이 말하게 수반하기 동당고 대방 또 단지 세네 동상고 대방 통나. 들이 다 산지를 남는 들이 다 소녀하고 요래지.
So when we hold on to the lineage, whether it's a lineage or a religion, in an ordinary way, in a way that is not genuine, and then what is the result of that? So, for example, then when we follow a certain lama or a certain dharma lineage, we just think that this is my lineage, and that's his lineage or his dharma, his religion, and so already the self-grasping has arisen, and then because we think that our own viewpoint is superior, we denigrate the other with thoughts of attachment and aversion. So what we tend to do usually is, first thing we do is we look for the faults of someone. We just try to find the slightest fault. There's different ways of misperception. There's, for example, when there's a complete lack of understanding, then that means that one has not understood the natural state of the mind. One has not understood karma, the twofold truth. One hasn't found any certainty. So the Dharma has not arisen from the bottom of one's heart. And that's, as a result of that, one doesn't really understand. Then a corrupt understanding is when you think that, oh, this is all not true, it's all a lie. And often from doubts arise such corrupt understandings. And then there is the partial understanding. The partial or fractional understanding is when you hear the Dharma and you think that probably I do need some love and compassion, that is probably necessary. But then still there is this concept of an I, a dualistic thought. And so basically we are deceived by errant dogma when in whatever we do, the Dharma or the world, we see things in a dualistic way and we engage in activities with a dualistic mind. Then our mind will be deceived. So what we need to do is, whatever we encounter, we should take the positive, see the positive in whatever we encounter. Dzogchen Patrul Rinpoche had said, never look at your own good qualities, never look at the faults of others. Nowadays, what people do is that the moment they meet a spiritual master, they try to find their faults first. And then they proclaim their own great qualities of practice and so on. But they can only see the faults in others. In Chagme's aspiration prayer of Sukhavati, it says that it is a greater fault to speak about the faults of a bodhisattva, to denigrate a bodhisattva, than it is to kill all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara. It is because we don't know who is a bodhisattva, so that's why we should not criticize anyone at all. But nowadays, we meet somebody, and without even thinking about it very directly, the moment we see, oh, somebody is a teacher, we try to find their fault. We try to think, okay, that's a spiritual teacher, so what's their fault? And immediately we develop these thoughts of attachment and anger. And then we proclaim our findings to others. But in reality, what happens is actually only our own detriment. That's what it said in the 37 practices. When we point out another bodhisattva's faults, it's actually to our own detriment. We ourselves decline. And so that is because a bodhisattva displays excellent conduct. And when we put that down, then many people may turn away from that bodhisattva. Or even if it's just a person who is doing good things, and we see somebody doing good things, the moment we see somebody do something good, we often just try to find the fault somewhere in them, or undermine them, cause some obstacles. Especially when that is very detrimental when Dharma teacher gives Dharma teachings. Because if we denigrate them and proclaim their faults to others, then those who have taken refuge in the three jewels and those who have cultivated faith and devotion to that teacher will turn away. So their faith in the Dharma will be lost. And that is especially true if that is a very well-known spiritual teacher, because then many people will turn away from the Dharma. And that teacher really serves as a bridge for others. And that is destroyed when we point out their faults in public. Actually, when a spiritual teacher appears in this world, in the world of humans, the way to appear in the human realm is as a tulku, or as a nirmanakaya. And the nature of a tulku is that he engages in human activity, so he assimilates to human activity. And those who don't really understand that will just see an ordinary human person with flaws. So it's very important to be careful and not look at their faults with a mind of attachment, anger, and ignorance. For example, often people point out their faults and then say that actually I know it much better than they are. I'm the real scholar. And they think that in the end they will be victorious, but the only victory, so to speak, that they will gain is the victory of birth in the lower realms in the end. That is all that is to be gained. So that is because if that teacher just shows the path of liberation to one single person, how beneficial is that already? And then many others have taken refuge and have cultivated devotion. And when they all turn away from that, what a great fault is that? It actually is just like one of those 5 heinous crimes, according to what Changme Rinpoche had said, and also according to the 37 practices. So instead of doing that, whether we interact with a different lineage or a different dharma, a different religion, we should, instead of looking at their faults, we should rather look at their good qualities. And in general, in whatever we do, we should weigh the action in terms of qualities and faults. So we should analyze with a clear mind. And then if we find that not whether it's a dharma activity or mundane activity, that something possesses like a 30% fault and 70% of good qualities, then it still should be considered to possess good qualities. Just when it is the other way around, when it is 70% fault and 30% qualities, then we might want to turn away from engaging in this. But when we look at others, all we should look at is their good qualities. And when you see the qualities in others, those qualities will also arise within yourself. Then faith arises, and from faith, trust arises, and from that, bodhicitta arises. So on the other hand, if we encourage others and tell others, expose the faults of teachers to others, then first of all, you yourself will develop a corrupt mind, and also you will cause others to turn away from their faith, their devotion in the Dharma. And that is really what leads to all kinds of trouble. So instead of that, cultivate a single-pointed faith in others, in other teachings or teachers. So the moment someone engages in Dharma and Dhamma activities, they are a Sangha. You should see them as a Sangha. For example, when a precious Sangha passes away, or like the Buddha, when they passed away, then everyone wants part of their corpse or their ashes or their relics. And that is because they possess bodhicitta, and therefore these relics are endowed with the seed of liberation. And so that is because of bodhicitta, and bodhicitta is like a medicine that people need and want. And all the sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara have the disease of self-grasping. And the only remedy to this is the mind of bodhicitta. And so when people don't understand that, they will just focus on the outward activities. Just look at what people do externally. But a bodhisattva will do all sorts of things. It is said that a nirmanakaya, a Turk who comes to tame beings according to their needs. So their activities may manifest in all sorts of different ways. So if you really understand the quality of Dharma, then look at their good qualities. Don't look at their faults. If you look at others' faults, it is only your own ruin. You should think that all the religions and all the different lineages in the world are beneficial. There's not a single one that is not beneficial. There's not a single one that doesn't contain something beneficial. They all engage in a virtuous practice. Then the next line here in the Gongchik verses says, in the systems of the non-Buddhists too, there is much to be practiced that is virtuous. So often when we hear this term non-Buddhist, there's this term tirtika, which is kind of a derogative term for a non-Buddhist practitioner. Often people think that, this is something bad. But actually you shouldn't think of a so-called tirtika in such a way, because the actual translation of this term tirtika, or mudekpa in Tibetan, means to raise or to support. And support those, or kind of become a stepping stone for those who have not yet understood the view. So it means that we have to progress gradually. Everyone is somewhere on the path. And all these different paths have many virtuous aspects and are very beneficial. For example, also non-Buddhist paths, they observe ethical discipline, they take vows, they practice generosity, they practice patience, and so on. And through these practices, they are coming closer and closer to the state of Buddhahood. So everyone is on the path somewhere of betterment. And so that is why it is called tirtika, means support or kind of raising, like a stepping stone. And so there are many good qualities to be seen, therefore, in non-Buddhist practices. And then after all beings possess Buddha nature. Just temporarily on the path, they are at different stages. First, they are an ice block, then slowly the ice block must melt, it becomes water, and after that it becomes hot water, and then the hot water can also melt other ice blocks. So we have to go through these stages. So again, when you see the qualities in others, then qualities will arise within your own mind. If you see the faults in others, then faults arise within your own mind. So in brief, whenever you encounter or hear of any other practitioner of any religion, think that they are all Sangha. Don't even analyze too much. They are religious practitioners, therefore they are Sangha. And those who are not religious practitioners, who have no path, are sentient beings, and therefore an object of our compassion. So there is only these two fields of reference. If you practice in this way, then practice will really become actually beneficial. And this is how I personally practice. Whenever I meet a religious practitioner, that is what I think. Whether they are like Muslim or Christian, I see them all as a Sangha. They all practice virtuous qualities, such as generosity, ethical discipline, patience, and so forth. So in brief, it's important to develop a pure perception from the bottom of your heart, thinking that we all have the same nature. So even though you might think that I'm a Buddhist and he's a Christian, actually, whatever they are, we all possess the same Buddha nature. And whatever they practice, it certainly possesses many great qualities of virtue. And there are many bodhisattvas throughout. many who practice generosity, ethical discipline, and patience, the other parameters as well. So if you see them in this way without analyzing too much instantly, and faith arises, then self-grasping in your own mind will become purified. So your own self-grasping becomes purified when you cultivate devotion to higher beings, and also when you cultivate compassion for the suffering of ordinary sentient beings. They do not know karma, and therefore they create many causes of suffering. For example, the animals suffer because of karma arisen out of ignorance. But still, they possess Buddha nature. It is just that the temporary habitual tendency must become purified. But Buddha nature itself transcends birth and death. So when you see such an animal, for example, make a prayer for them and pray that may these temporary habitual tendencies become purified. And then also recognize that all appearances are the deity, sounds are the mantra, and arising thoughts are, or the awareness is the Dharmakaya. So this is how your mind state should become. Recognize that even if things do appear in an impure way, this is just a temporary appearance. It is the temporary fault of confusion and afflictive emotions, the karmas that sentient beings have created. And even though they experience the fruition of their karma, they still possess one and the same fundamental nature. So they are like ice blocks, and when the ice block melts, then they all are Buddhas. So when you see it in this way, then instantly your mind will become joyful whenever you encounter someone. And also that will benefit others. So when you recognize that all beings possess Buddha nature, that is actually the greatest benefit. So whatever lineage or religion you encounter, recognize that they all possess virtuous qualities and therefore respect them and train your mind in a pure perception. Always hold on to this pure perception, and no matter who you encounter. And then when you see a suffering sentient being, then recognize that they suffer so much, but still they possess Buddha nature. So therefore, even when you see someone like that, you should sustain a pure perception and recognize it's just temporary. They really have Buddha nature. So in this way, you train your mind in developing a pure perception towards ordinary sentient beings and cultivate a trust in karma. When you see their suffering, you recognize that this is the result of afflictive emotions. But afflictive emotions are only a temporary fault. That is not their true nature, what they really are. So this is the step to cultivate bodhicitta. And we have said that a Buddha is nothing else but an embodiment of bodhicitta. And so regarding the sentient beings who are projections of the three poisons, actually, all beings in the 6 realms of nirvana, of samsara, are tulkus or nirmanakayas. The reason is because nirmanakaya means an emanation, so tulku means an emanation form. So the beings in the hell realms are tulkus of hatred, and the animals are tulkus of ignorance, and the hungry spirits are tulkus of greed. And yet, that is only temporarily. Ultimately, all of these beings possess Buddha nature. When these temporary flaws become purified, their true nature is actually Buddha. And then also we possess these afflictive emotions in our own mind stream. And these need to be purified. So whether it's our own mind or others' minds, the faults come from the same afflictive emotions. But Buddha nature is never defiled by these afflictive emotions. So when you train your mind in a pure perception, then everything that appears and exists will manifest as an infinite field of purity. And so Milarepa therefore also said that when you see the ultimate truth, then on a state of Buddhahood, there is no duality. So when self-grasping diminishes, that is when you see the ultimate truth. And then seeing the ultimate truth, you no longer see any duality, any division.
잠시 받에 저당 소하다 남반이다 다 주로고 손이다 이시리요에 이 잠시 받에 잡은 로바데라 다들이 다시 저게 요소로 된 다음에 요지를 닦고서 요지를 있나 동은이디 다다 체디 쭉 삼는 코르디와 담지 체디 무보다 심만이 지네 체디 쭉 도다 삼는 땅에 무슨 geb조지 제네양 그 담도 양탁과 자기 요 말이 체는 말람다고 좀 제 그치 뭐지 좀 되게 라속이 제르티니 짭 로스들이 망과가 짭로 그렇게 하면 남바다 짭우네지 짭세 로서 현아 고쇼섬지 사지 주던 견디선 야 제르 주선지 조고 사지 주던 견디 다다 운에 짭으로 요지서 견디리 견디 찍으려면 되니까 견디 송답지 속사지 견디 톡사지 그런 시범군에 짭은 로나 들이 세 짭네 세 짭로지 짭네 세 고쇼섬지는 되니 견디 뭐 찍으려 타고 뒤서 용지시고 뒤서도 저거들이 사지에서 사죠 소마탄 남탄 제반 남탄 싸움 가래 땅도 내가 그렇게 대상하다 저게 다한지 적지 못지 그래 오 사지 제와라 때 땅 소리 사지 생기 제아지 제가 하고 요리 그랬더니 뭐 나를 잡고 가는 거지 오 라주를 내리는 거 나를 잡는 거 사지제 뭐 싫었지 오 사지를 잡서서 사지 시바데 사지 셈네 송데 셈도 싸마지를 사지 송송데 랑 셈도 싸마 조고도 오 랑 사지 조고도 취제 정보 삼히게는 셈도 마상와 가리데 다지리 세고나 오 다들이 삼히게 세고 요리 삼히게를 째나 배나 비게 빼서 니게 스티는 니게는 먹리 기반 시도 담전 되네요. 이렇게 봐 마무다 본적 듣반다가 요리스. 누가시면 나지. 아이즈마도 코가 통마미만이. 카 빠빠는 나냐 재미봐. 또또 잡어 나가 형마데 똑같이 제도 좀 나지 주체면 제거로 하지. 저래 내 말대로 나딱 말이 내 말에서 대근이 뭐라요. 조고산지 진빈semne 총선에 저래 생긴 섬지 동네를 쌈니 그래서 취지고 삼형제에 되나 다디서 삼형제 고노시네 다 형제 제라 가래 다 형제랑 다도 삼티제 생기는다 랑트시 아마레지 가시 말아 형제 메세 그래 옛날 요런 미는들 삼형제지 형제지 인비로 파다도요 하고 그래 다디서 저 가는 소를 셈는 통야면을 셈나 들 복잡하고 요 가방 이제 대하고네 오, 대 취지 뭐 삼형제래시. 대 삼형제들 맞지와 제와 탑제와 뭐냐면 탑 공리 공부 배워 대 탑섬 됐더니 대 탑섬도 가르쳐 다 도지는 뭐 개비신이 오, 다 개비신이 따라되니 개비신이 잡선 로 감니 대다당아 그 견디래시 오, 뭐저 쪽발래시 견디는 오, 인로 집게 방와 진비 집게 줘봐 대 톡상도 톡제니 송답이 취래 담지 demba dumde demanires o le dumde roame bat tu ne kapde tabro khayo chedi chibo chabon chedi chibo ne rag le dumde tini chago mani tata rang dongete te me bachi yo mari le ke number me bat saje sa ya yo mari dumde song yo jesores churam tabji jere song jele dumde chaje cha ha ko le ge bi shin te tini 들들 아니 소지면 손이 개비시지 랑을 류장들이 랑을 류들이 개비시니 스자치들 개비시니 자치 무슨 거리 류는 된 통도리 타란저로리 개비시니 송절 람 랑은 니바이 올베는 람가 넘바 랑가 답치데 랑이 바 톱소나 대 지와는 지와 처음에 생물나 바샤 야차래 대 매야 요 말이 지하마 지스트리니 지하마 지스트리니 대 지와는 지와 처음에 야면 그 삼행지 상 조금 생물 뭐지 개신이 토요래 대변이들이 개신이 자치 모래 리들 강바동 바다 그래서들이 개신이지 다 개신이 좀 대신 답을 취시 받다 다다 다 주phong 제제 제동자 삼행제는 다 나가 잠종네랑 선데 산제님보라고 시랍대리 제 그냥 딱 봐니고 대상지고 라고 세고 내록도 봐라고 사촉습 줄지고 저 사촉습 줄지나 들이 동담고 된발라데 다니고 저딱 톱잡에 샘사지라고 샘대라고 사지고 라고 산지가 형보 시합 추 탐제제 형보 삼형제리 삼형제제 제고는 되다 대라 사바체비 봐요 그거는 사바체비 봐요나 삼바레 송을 형제대 들때 형제 자체 보요래 배나 배나 생기 속차 탐제 다른 거 강을 띄워요 배더니 라고 파마지라서 봐 탐제 샘준지 뭐 레거가 다다다 들어라서 버지라는 게 세우중지 요번에 좀 되게 삼만도 하고 참아더니 샘들이 마sab사 요 말이 맨날 되니 다시 탐지 따다다 것도 동네됐다 요나 세일 톡던 로 옛날 나는 샘들이 다 파마 맞아요 직장 매봐 돈담을 샘중지 파마 가가요만 파다 마다 다행히 가가요만 그도 그래 다 파마를 생기와 아마를 생기와 요만 또 아마 거와 돈만 멸류만 벌어대 된것도 만남 가다냐면 샘지 탑지 좀 되는 그 대상으로는 다 샘지 탑지를 잡았다 형제 지형을 삼바지 형을 그 삼바지는 이 샘지 동에 속을 별들이 속 차든 로는 내가 들어서 가가리 말이 이제 세대 대식인 모르지 대식인 모르 잡으면 봤는데 파마들랑 다 갈라 지아요 바들이 저라이 모르지 대다 무슨 성리 되니까 들이 다 대탑들 피부탑 들이 강 제부터 샘거더니 그 난진 거만 그래지 들이 삼형제 산초 삼형제 그 팽거래지 샘쪽 보면 삼형제 깨라 고소를 뒤속으로지 차변 거래지 대다오는 들이 삼바 샘이 봐 들이 샘지 통치도 많이 나 들이 샘지 로아로 샘지 담제 동해에서 미송송 로도 남바지 고백하면 삼형제 제부 탑이 삼형제 제 동해에서 뒤동해에서랑 서로 가리죠 동해용을 대도지 동해지 레그 박차에 봐 대나디에 봐 대랑 산속생부 다 시작도 봐 떠서 봐 대다와 하고는 들이자기 다형제 샘이 봐 당호 삼바 샘이 봐 세비에서 이제 파마이 만남 파다냐 샘지 담지 들이 대를 따뜻한 동네 통화에 좀도 로용 거래 다대 주의 삼바를 뛰면인지 대성구요래 들이 상인지 누런 다 죽게 될 말이지 상황이 근이지甚至 这样的대를 이는 이제 겨랑 나니처럼 랑 센터 상제로래 이는 이제 같이 있잖아요 대를 딱 톱자에 샘 상제 샘 광전에 샘 용도 상제 용도 있잖아 상제 샘을 요와 하고 요래 대고는 딱 톱자에 샘 상제에서 또 담거더니 되니다다 상제기는 뭐 지랍 취지는 뭐 삼형제 조지는 뭐 개비신이 대대서 집에 탑대 개비신이를 뛰는데 개비신이라는 게 르웨체 빠지는 개비신이 삼제 자치 뭐냐 봐 다른 공식이 개비신이 용띠 같이 통로 소소로 용띠 돼서 윤리제 대신에 남을 잡로 듣고 줬었는데 대 저로들이 싸움 잡로 되더니 샘 대식이 뭐 광 들이 사지 가서 그냥 어디 돈타고 대바구니 동과 죽어 람지사로 그 독재꾼을 잡아 쫓고 대 돈타고 대바 뭐 상주에 뭐가 생육꾼을 잡아 뭐가 받지 아치고지 저는 냠니 개박감이 또 남대만 냠선이나 설 삼형제 제사제는 또와 같이 세대도 같이서 딱체 가리 이게 지정다 그래 돈이 저는 형제랑 속지 돈이 형제 손족지 또 뭐지 배는 차로 대셔를 쳐가람지 차는 거래 배에다가 나들이 뛰는 차로 차대요래 데르데 체리 저거서는 나디 체리 또 땅 안에 되는 코와서는 된 거를 많은 정도거리 데르 레게데 남만나서 깨베들이 레바들이 대동요 세섬 대와 사치세 봐야지 다다 대와 둘로 동에는 정도거리 데르오지는 띠땀동은 타토바들이 있어다 서당상 좀 장로들이 남바자지 다 데리 그 짜서 로다를 했더니 짜서나 체리 저거서 아무나 서럽 안으로 차용을 체리기네 데르오들이 다 장비 개발 대리 개발만 보선 걸 노도시에 다 세 낭상점 잡로대 낭점도 다다리 사지정보 시합 지정보 상인지 도지모 계획이니 다속진 레버티라는 거 고선 창거리 다다다 공리 받는 줄이
And so the next line says, the difference between non-Buddhists and Buddhists is the taking of refuge. So we say that there's Buddhists and non-Buddhists, and we take refuge. When we take refuge, we say that we become a Buddhist. And so then, even though we use these terms to describe a refuge, actually, so what makes someone not be a so-called Buddhist is that when we only think about this lifetime, when we are cling to just the concrete existence of this life, and all that we can think about is this. Even if we practice virtue or even take refuge with such a worldly intention, it does not become an authentic refuge. So it's important to recognize that this life is like a dream, like an illusion. So Thigten Somgen also said that karmic fruition is the manifestation of one's momentary thoughts. So what is the actual inner refuge? We need to, also first of all, the refuge of the three jewels are the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha of the three times. And then our actual place of refuge is the Sangha, from whom we learn everything. The Sangha embodies the three jewels. The body is the Sangha, the speech is the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. Also, the Sangha embodies the three kayas, possesses the qualities of the three kayas. So first we take the outer refuge. So we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. And in relation to this, we need to understand the qualities of these three jewels. And also, you can read the life stories of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the past and learn about how did they think and what did they do. And when you learn about that, great devotion and a pure perception arises within you. Then you will see that all the Buddhas of the past, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, only cared for sentient beings. They love all sentient beings. So then there's the inner refuge. And that is really the essence of taking refuge. This is how you really take refuge, is by understanding the inner refuge. And that is, sorry, and this is to understand that the three jewels are actually complete within your own mind. And that in that sense, the essence of the Buddha is your own wisdom. It is your own completely pure mind. The Buddha arises from within your own mind. You need to purify your own mind in order to become a Buddha. So the Buddha, the essence of the Buddha is within your own mind. And so what is it that defiles the mind and obscures the mind from seeing that? It is self-grasping. That needs to be cleared away. And that is cleared away through a mind of love and compassion. And if you cultivate love and love, compassion naturally arises. Sorry. It's already said in the scriptures that when we just When we just give sentient beings a spoonful of food, for example, with a mind of love and compassion, with a mind of bodhicitta, we are purifying the negativities accumulated in many aeons. And so this, again, so-called negativity is self-grasping, and that is accumulated continuously, day and night, like snowflakes falling down, since beginningless time until now. We constantly think of me, me, me all the time. And we are not even aware of all the afflictions and all the self-clinging that constantly arises. It arises actually continuously, non-stop. And so in the 37 practices, it says, the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So the Buddhas have become Buddhas because they only think about sentient beings. So the essence of the Buddha is wisdom. The essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. We need love and compassion to eliminate self-grasping. And so how do we cultivate love? For example, we think of our own mothers, who we love very much. Some people don't love their mothers, but we bring to mind whoever we love. And whether we love our mothers or not, we need to understand that point, that self-grasping is purified through love and compassion. When love and compassion arises, the habitual tendencies are purified, and when self-grasping arises, we accumulate more of them, just like snow accumulating. Even though we can't see it, we constantly place it into our mind. So the essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. And the Dharma is a method to cultivate love where it has not yet arisen, to not let it decline where it has arisen, and to have it ever further increase. And then thirdly, the essence of the companion is the spiritual teacher. So when we take refuge in the spiritual teacher, the body is the Sangha, so a human being, just like us. But then their mind is a mind of bodhicitta. They accomplish the benefit of others, and they entirely give up harming others. With their speech, they teach us the twofold truth. They tell us that karma is unfailing. And if you want to seek true protection, you cannot find it by just thinking about this life. You can't find your protection in a worldly way. You need to understand karma. When you understand karma, you will be protected. And often we suffer now, and there's nothing that we can do about it because it is our karma. Even the Buddha cannot lift us out of it. So everything, all phenomena arise out of causes. And so that is what we learn in great detail from our spiritual teacher. And therefore in the 37 practices it is said, you should cherish that teacher even more than you would your own body. Because our body is a compounded phenomenon, and it will turn into ashes and be destroyed. But what you have learned from the spiritual teacher, the teachings of the Holy Dharma, they will stay with you. So whatever Dharma you have gained certainty in will stay with you from lifetime to lifetime. The seed has already been planted. It will not be lost. Even if lifetimes come to pass, you will not forget it. It is in your mind. The teachings on bodhicitta and the teachings on karma and so forth. So that is why the guru is even more precious than our own body. The body is just like an empty house. So again, the essence of the 84,000 Dharma teachings, the root is love and compassion. And so that is your inner refuge, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha within you. So first, you need to cultivate bodhicitta. If you wish to find the Buddha within yourself, you first need to cultivate bodhicitta. Then you come closer to the ultimate truth. And The ultimate truth, as we said, is your own mind is the Buddha, and nothing needs to be removed from it, and nothing needs to be added to it. But you have to accomplish the Buddha within yourself through the Dharma. And again, the essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. First, you must cultivate immeasurable love. From love arises compassion. Great compassion, immeasurable compassion for all sentient beings. So when you see an animal, for example, think that also this animal has been my parent, someone I loved dearly, and our mind continuum is still one and the same. It is just due to karma that this being has taken birth as an animal. So karmic fruition is the manifestation of one's momentary thoughts. If you understand that, then you know that our minds are actually one, and the mind is all pervasive. And now they experience suffering. This being experiences suffering as an animal. Even though now it looks like an animal, their inner mind has been our parent. And there's not a single one who has not been our parent. So on the ultimate level, there is no more duality in between you and your parents. On the relative level, we have had countless mothers who have been very kind to us, having taken on infinite numbers of births in previous lives. That is why we speak about all mother sentient beings, limitless as space. So when you recognize that and you see a sentient being that suffers, then that suffering will come to you and love will arise. Then you will want them to be free from suffering. And you will not think that, oh, this is an animal, this is not me, somebody separate from me. You will recognize that we are connected through Buddha nature, and we have taken on limitless lifetimes in the past. So this being has been my mother in a previous life. You will actually see it that way, in a very direct way, whenever you see anyone and encounter any being. And then you will think about ways to help them. And then if you can't help them, you will at least cultivate love for them and compassion. And that mind of love and compassion will actually benefit them, because that mind will pervade them. And so that is the nature of all the sentient beings in the 6 realms, whoever you encounter. So for example, when we practice the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, this also actually is really a method to cultivate love and compassion. Because in the context of the 4 thoughts, we recollect suffering, we think about suffering, and we reflect on how it would be if we had to experience this suffering and so on. So we bring the suffering to mind. And then we recognize that this suffering arises from karmic imprints, which arise from self-grasping. And then there is a way to purify them, and that is compassion. So actually first it is immeasurable love, and from that arises immeasurable compassion, a wish to actually protect beings from suffering. And that is the Dharma, the essence of the Dharma. So if you possess love and compassion, then you are a Sangha. Then you can really think, I am really a Sangha. I love all sentient beings. And when you see the suffering of others, compassion for them arises. And the more compassion arises, the more your own self-grasping will diminish. And as a result of that, your own mind will attain enlightenment. So you actualize the Buddha within yourself, the Buddha who already is within yourself. As we said, there is nothing to be removed and nothing to be added to it. You just need to see your ultimate nature. So the essence of the Buddha is your own wisdom. The essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. The essence of companions is the spiritual teacher. The spiritual teacher shows you the Dharma in many skillful ways. And that teacher is more precious than your own body for this reason. And so in brief, whenever you see the good qualities in your teacher, then these very qualities will also arise within yourself. So these were the outer and the inner refuge. And then the secret refuge is to recognize Buddha nature. And that within Buddha nature, the qualities of the three kayas are complete. So that means the empty essence of the mind is the Dharmakaya. The natural clarity is the Sambhogakaya. And the all-pervasive compassion is the Nirmanakaya. And all beings possess these qualities within them. When one actualizes these qualities, one attains enlightenment. And then what really is actualized is this all-pervasive compassion, which is an unconditional, unobjectified, great compassion for all beings. So the purpose of practice is to see the ultimate truth. And as we practice, our realization increases. And it is said that a sign of one's realization is one's level of compassion. It is said that when one realizes emptiness, true emptiness, then compassion will naturally arise. So it arises as the natural radiance of this realization. And then naturally the ice block has melted into ocean water. You see the ultimate truth. On the other hand, if you only think about this life, then self-grasping will only increase further and further. And you will be bound in the 6 realms of samsara. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, the pleasures of the 3 realms is as fleeting as a dewdrop on the tip of a blade of grass. So in any case, this is the outer, inner, and the secret refuge. And so it is said in the verse here, what distinguishes outer and inner, or Buddhist and non-Buddhist, is the refuge. And so we have also determined that what is outer or not Buddhist is basically just thinking about this life and nothing else. So that in brief is the 3 jewels, of which the inner 3 jewels within yourself are most important. So again, this is the essence of the Buddha is your own wisdom. The essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. And the essence of companions is the spiritual teacher. And then on the level of the ultimate fruition, the secret refuge means mainly to recognize the presence of the 3 kayas.
Dewa tang Dewa jeta tat Dewa kari yunati Dewa chara tangchi jo de na dimba tap dungi chara tangchi to chara tap te kona ri jamu jebarang tini non Dewa ta dimba tap dungi to chara tap de tena chito number ta tring ashi jere is.
So this is the benefit of the refuge. So may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Whatever happiness you have, there is in your lifetime, subtle and coarse, greater and smaller happiness, it all has a cause. And the Dharma, the refuge, is a method to create these causes of happiness. And it is a method to free us from all causes of suffering, subtle and coarse. So this is the benefit of taking refuge. So for today, Dharma friends, Tashi Telek.
Ome Dewa Re, Ome Dewa Re, Ome Dewa Re, Ome Dewa Re. Raja Kala Jubakidin Nama Tashi Telek.
Tashi Telek, all the Sangha on the stream, and see you tomorrow.